reading, journaling, as I often do and like to do. And I was reading one of my favorite scriptures. God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. And I was just thinking, like, man, there's so many people that are living their life or allowing fear to lead them around in life. And it's so crippling. It keeps you like in such bondage. It's unbelievable how much you can feel in bondage when you let fear lead you. And I know because I was a person who actually did. And I thought to myself, like, really? When you think about it, where has it ever gotten you when you've allowed fear to make your decisions, or you've operated in fear, or you moved in fear, you made decisions based out of fear? When you think back and you really ask yourself that question, like in the moment you could have, it's better to do this because blah, 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 and then you did it and you look back, what did it actually do? Because for me, I know when I look back at the times where I chose fear over faith in God, I look back, I'm like, it didn't do anything. It was a temporary fix in the moment, and then it was something I always ended up regretting. And so these are just things sometimes that I'm thinking about, and I'm like, if I'm thinking this way, and I feel like I've overcome it, I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but there are just some people, they operate in fear. You can tell it's almost like it's a part of their personality. And it's not a bash or whatever, because I even get why some people do. I actually even get why some people who are not believers, who are not Christians, who don't have relationships with God. But what boggles my mind even more, or what boggles my mind, is not that. It's the fact of how many believers that say that they believe in God, they have faith in God. It's like, where is it? Because like, I just look and I'm just like, they're the ones that are moving in fear. You see it in everything that they do. And sometimes I know when we are delivered from things, or we get over things, or we work through things, or God heals us of things, sometimes we can be a little bit judgmental. Honestly, I definitely don't mean to be, but for me it's not even that. It's just like, I care. Like, I'm looking and I'm like, do you know how freeing it is to not let fear control your every move, your every decision? It does nothing for you at the end of the day. It does nothing for you. It just keeps you crippled. It stops your relationship with God even developing to where it actually could be. Why? Because you're not giving God a chance to even show you what he can actually do. You're not even giving him, actually it's a little bit insulting, to be honest with you. It really is insulting, because if you're choosing to do something out of fear, then you're basically telling God, I don't trust you, so I'm going to choose to do this my way. And we all know that when you choose to do things your way without actually trusting in him, it always backfires in your face. It always does. And that's the reason why sometimes I don't get it with some people that I actually know, that they operate in fear, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, but the situation is not actually getting any better. It's actually getting worse. How can't you see that? So it's like that saying, what is it? If you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result, you're going to be expecting a different result for a long time. Like, if we want change, we have to make change. If you don't actually make change, then nothing is going to change. Everything in your life is going to stay the exact same way. You're always going to find yourself back in the same situations. You're always going to find yourself, oh God, here I am again, blah, blah, blah. Like I say, thank God for His grace and thank God for His mercy. And only God is the one that can give the grace and mercy. Because honestly, sometimes I just look at people, situations in life, like just over the years, people that I've known, and sometimes I could just like take someone by the head and just shake them and be like, do you actually get what you are putting yourself through by operating in fear? But at the end of the day, anybody who was in this place right now, where you could be in a situation where your fear has a hold on you, fear has a hold on your life, reach out to someone, reach out for prayer, ask someone to pray for you, ask God to strengthen you and remove that fear from your life, because at the end of the day, you were not meant to be walking around like that. You are just not. That is not the way that God intended your life to be, walking around riddled with fear and anxiety over every little thing because you were not trusting Him. And even though sometimes, we can be in our dark moments and we could be afraid, but we choose faith over fear. We choose God over looking at our circumstances in the way that they are. Sometimes the worst can happen, but at the end of the day, if we believe in Him and our faith and our trust is in Him, He brings us through. I can't tell you the amount of times where I have been faced with or dealing with things in my life, and I thought, like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I really don't know, God. But every single time He brought me through, because I said I have to choose and make a conscious effort to put my trust in You. If I can put my trust in fear, like, okay, be fearful because I know that this is going to happen, well, that's exactly what's going to happen. When you start operating in fear, you are giving the devil a permanent place in your life. When you choose fear all the time, when you act out of fear all the time, you are giving the devil the front row seat to pull the strings on everything. And every single time you keep giving into that fear, every single time, it gets bigger and it gets bigger and it gets bigger until what? There's no room for God in your life. That does not mean that He's not there, but that means that there's no room for Him, because your fear is so big that there is no room for your faith. There is no room for you to trust in God. And as a believer, if I am saying that my trust is in God and my faith is in God, then that should show. That should be evident in my life. It should be evident in my Christian walk. No one can tell me, I've always said this, that God is not real. Why? Because I have experienced Him. I have a relationship with Him. He has brought me through more things than I can even count. So, if you are one of those people where you feel like fear is controlling your life, honest to God, like, reach out to a friend, ask for prayer, reach out and talk about it, be vocal about it. Don't just sit there and not say anything or move in silence, because the enemy loves that. He thrives off of that. Plus, on top of it, if we are trying to break a lot of generational curses, which I know I am, and you have kids that are watching you, they are looking at every decision that you make. They are looking at why you make them, how you make them, all of it. Our kids will mimic exactly what it is that we do. How we choose to deal with problems, how we choose to deal with situations. Our kids look at that and they mimic it. And then you have them growing up and them operating in the same ways with their families that we actually know are not good. And then sometimes we as parents can even be hard on our kids, but you can't even really be hard on them because you're the one that taught them that way to be. You're the one that taught them to run away from everything and not actually deal with it face on. If we're saying that God is so great and God is so big and God is so good, then what's the problem?